You want to know a secret that's not readily available in the surface level of our mental amplitudes, ongoing thoughts, streams? Something of a secret is understanding why your psyche is the way it is. Because if you understand why your psyche is the way it is, we've gone out of time segues of the nuanced challenges of spiritual life. So what I really mean here is the human psychology, for whatever reason, from a deep, deep standpoint, it wants to fight the gods just generally. But as they go through that challenge, then they have a deep secret pact with those gods, and then their psyche gets transformed of how the there are unique original mundane selves. Those unique original mundane selves, they get transformed like over a long period of time, and that's not just surface level human mundane. And within that, the soul functions within like something of different modes of reality, a deeper spiritual place, something of an in-between, and then something of like a surface level respectively. So within all of that being said, how we have our new human psyche, it's because that's just the computation of something that we already resonated, accumulated, and are reflecting into the human body. And that's just the translation of it, because it's not by random. Because you could ask, why do we have the HD charts that we do have? Because it's reflecting something that we are somewhere else. And the different types of like in between is registering the computation for you to be what you are based on what you're doing in a different mode, based on your spiritual accumulations. And within those spiritual accumulations, the human psyche, how it gets to evolve out of just the general Mercury zone level, how we go, how we kind of have our own slope through that, is based on our general overall good karmas. We get to just kind of like flow and ride with that, just generally speaking though. And I'm not like focusing on anybody's case. I'm just like saying this is what it is, like where over the lifetimes we get to see like the duality of Mercury just on a neutral level, what it's like, how it's kind of working with the bigger picture most respectively. And as it's doing that, we ultimately could leverage out of the shadows of that based on the other behind roundtable of that most respectively. And obviously, like, I understand how people could be like, it's just you and and we've resonated to the roles that we became over the lifetimes, and it's being computed in the surface level mundane plane in a unique way, because the in-between system evolved as well and caught up and caught on as well, just based on like how it's computing and analyzing, how humans are just being registered from like the even before the quote unquote HD perspective, end quote. And what that means is just how the astrology is evolving, and eventually, like in a different in between level, HD got created from that kind of like phenomena and method. So so now we're reflecting our new selves onto what we are, but it's just it's just a branch of like how we're a new thing somewhere else, and how we're a new thing somewhere else. We ultimately go through the challenges differently based on what we've gained within the different themes and the tribulations of the quote unquote planets themselves, end quote. And as we're going through that, we could have the grace and the balance to leverage ourselves out of the detriments of how the planets have different, contexts of like shadows. And within that, within those different contexts of shadows, it doesn't have to be good or bad, but we could be caught up in like something of just like, just being down on the slope of of different types of energy waves, not just subject to emotional waves. Emotional wave is just the final ladder product of how everything has culminated, mind, physical, and spiritual. Those produce the emotional waves based on where we're at within the challenges of the quote unquote planets, end quote. And within doing all of that, from our original mundane selves, or wherever we could, traverse up and down within our original, like, spiritual selves or whatever, or like, and how that like transitions from the unique spiritual planes to unique physical mundane planes. From that, our spiritual psyche has been evolving, aside from any of like, just the wordings of it, and within that, we uniquely have different relationships with all these different patterns. I mean, with all these different quote unquote grahas, end quote, based on, where we just have traveled as like as an individual soul, and how you uniquely more or less came from a certain standpoint of God, because quote unquote God is everything, end quote. And from that, you started from a unique denomination or a unique remnant, if you will. And then you have a unique, going out and in. And as you're doing that, um, you have a unique spiritual origin based on, where you actually came from, and where you came from. That was your original kind of like spread of like the relationships that you were coming out of, making you uniquely you, like the real rawness of like the different types of selves respectively. So from that spiritual standpoint, that you you could say that you could say that a certain part of the mundane psychology, or the young individualized spark soul or soul spark of the psychology, they naturally wanted to quote unquote you know just generally have this opposition against, like, the quote unquote gods, end quote. And as that was doing that, as they grew and their wisdom cultivated over the lifetimes as their individual soul, they eventually like came to realize that, like, they need that they're since like they're from the since they're from the gods, they need help from the gods, respectively. And as that's being said, you have a unique updated spread of what you are, based on how you more or less have like this original opposition within like the original planetary beings. And now and for either like good, bad, better, or worse, or somewhere around there, um you're in the challenges of the gods, already. And as that's being done, we're not necessarily realizing particularly that it doesn't matter how woke you are, activated you are. There's just, we're working with those challenges and those themes. They're a part of life, like, quote unquote, like ongoingly, end quote. And as that's going on, their plan they already planned some stuff in the future. They've already made like what it is in the future. Like, the game has already been made. It's like someone makes a game, and as they make a game, it's already like the game is already, quote unquote, the program is scripted. But with the program being scripted, that doesn't necessarily mean like we can't like remake the video game. That's the thing that, like, but like maybe, like, if there's a video game within a video game within a video game, then God is like, he's really like, we don't know what God is. We have a unique individualized idea of what God is. We have like a spoon-fed idea, a watered down version of what God is, because what God is whatever is behind all of that shit, respectively. And within doing that, as we have our original, like, unique origins of ourselves, and we have this like psychology that's evolving over lifetimes, as we want to oppose and fight the gods. Now we find ourselves in the challenges of the gods, and we don't, and some of us don't necessarily know that. That's like the whole neutrality of like our circumstances and our situations is it's based on we are like where we originated and like how we like had this unique challenge and opposition, and now the lives and the life challenges of just general life, whatever opposition you have, you're carrying that opposition through all the other life challenges and life themes. So because obviously like the subconscious, it knows all like there's a part of the subconscious that knows this, but the humans themselves, they phase in and out of touching base with whatever the subconscious is, which is like the predecessors, hopefully in their best balance, them preserving this shit pretty much, and then that having like a shadow. That's what the subconscious is. And obviously like this is 2016 shit too, but like on the low, on the lowly to the highly, to the hay. But that's just, I'm just trying to break down and understand the essence of like circumstance, the essence of like situation. And within that situation, like I guess you could say the moon is like it's a multifaceted crux technology that is kind of like it's kind of like a something of like a vessel of its own like context and thing, and it's used to kind of like generate and percolate like how like how the energies could get how like particular energies could get distributed within certain environments, so those environments could have this like this energy generated production effect from its distribution. And it's something of like it's just something of a technology that that is just part of the game as well. It's just one of the it's just one of the mechanisms of the game, and these mechanisms of the planets, they're not just like one thing respectively. So it's like we always need that like environmental will boost, the moon, the heart chakra, the will, the moon. Do we have like a fair trade with life? And if we don't have a fair trade with life, then like then we have to like somehow like go back to the basics of just like it's just the moon shit, starting like as like how is the baby getting treated, why did the baby reincarnate as the baby is, why is the baby reincarnating like that, and like and it's going through it's just barely beginning the journey of going through all the challenges uniquely with the quote unquote GHs end quote, and it's having that unique life due to the fact that, and I should really be recording this underground, but due to the fact, and what was like the what was something of like a different reflection of a transaction of what you like kind of like left off at within your like soul evolution. And I could have said that in a different way, but like I could always re-listen to it and like touch it up later or whatever. But it's like, why is the baby that it is the baby? Well, the one thing I also forgot to mention is that baby it has like a pre-destiny, something quote unquote, something of a pre-code and a pre-destiny that it has yet to unravel where it left off on a different spiritual journey, and the material body just being a reflection of just the different spiritual journeys that we had. And it's important for us to bite the bullet and take full responsibility, because there was some part of us that made the choice and affiliated with wherever our original agencies was, and we just like got transacted down the lines over the lifetimes to like kind of really like equal out the karma that we have to equal out, because we're underestimating God is like, he's like really like he's like before AI, you know, like we're just not understanding that. He's like, so if he's before AI, he like, he knows all of this shit. Like, we're really underestimating God. And I'm just saying that neutrally, you know. And I get like all this like program shit, you know, like this fucking, like I get all the like, you know, respectively, like there's, you know, the Matrix infrastructure shit, like that's a group project, you know. Shout out to Mr. B, you know, for one name. And but that's just what it is, though. And we're beginning to understand particularly that, or not, based on if we have some type of debilitated lower octave Mercury for whatever fucking reason, or if we have some type of like, you know, higher octave, you know, constructive Mercury that's really rooting for us for whatever reason. We have to lean that and balance that with all the other planets and all the other shit. But that's the thing. That's why everything's so super unique. So if we don't see that super unique shit, then we're subject to like being like, you know, quote unquote confused unquote, or just like chilling with the unconscious. And if we're chilling with the unconscious too long, things are gonna like fly over your head, you know, metaphysically speaking or whatever. And but like hopefully like within like the deeper inner balance, hopefully that could be like, you know, that inner balance is the thing that transmutes shit in itself. Literally, the thing that transmutes shit in itself is the inner balance. The inner balance is how you have good karma with all the other, you know, or you're working towards good karma with all the other planets, because we're unconscious to what they are. We're unconscious to what the planets are. We're confused to what the planets are, because that's just where we're at in our soul evolution. And we're just like mundane. And I'm not trying to be condescending at all. Like, you know, some people are just that, you know, we get what you are, you know. And like, you know, like it's like the mind already is saying it, like, okay, let's see what happens with this person's career. Like, you know, the mind is already fucking telling us. It's 2024, for Christ's sake. Like, we know this shit. Like, okay, like, let's see what happens with this guy's career. That's what the mind is saying, you know. And it's like, we could have these thoughts, but like, you know, Pisces season is like, not all thoughts are true thoughts. Not all things are true things. Not all people are true people. But like, what agency balances that shit, you know? And it's the good karma credits of your inner balance, of the anomalies of the human beings on earth at this present time, regardless of the age, regardless of the race, regardless of like what you are. Are you promoting up and like inner holding and showcasing inner balance? Because if you are, then that's like, it's literally like and like it's literally like pretty much the real beyond, you know. So within doing that, I'm just, the main point here is just like breaking down the essence of circumstance. That's pretty much it. That's me neutrally saying it. And but like, we're so like, we could be so stubborn within our intelligence, our unconsciousness and our confusion gets the best of us, where we won't, like, the truth won't be with us, you know. And if the truth isn't with us, then you're going to be outside of a particular truth, where you're not knowing you're in certain challenges of the Godheads. And within those challenges of the Godheads, your unconscious and confusion is getting the best of you, and you don't know that's what you're in or going towards. And if you don't know what you're going towards, then then you won't necessarily have a particular type of alignment, because you're not necessarily knowing what you're working towards, and simultaneously in the energetic spiritual reciprocity, you don't know what's ultimately feeding you different sustenances for you to even exist and animate as a human being to begin with. You know, to all, and like me being mature, like I don't have to say like, okay, like, we get these types of people, we get these types of people, we get these types of people. Like, no, this is like really what it is, without any of like the snap judgments or snap conclusions, like, because like just those responses of just like like you got to be fucking kidding me, or like what a fucking crock of shit, or fucking fuck this shit, all of that fucking shit. It's like that's not like it's not necessarily that's not intellectually correct. It's not intellectually correct. Like it's just like a phase of like, how the humans could fall into some type of unconsciousness slash confusion, and from that unconsciousness and confusion, shit, like particular things grow, which is the segue of your circumstance and situation. So within those particular things growing, if you're going to be absorbed and immersed within unconsciousness and confusion, then you're not necessarily going to know how to transform that. And if you're not going to know how to transform that, um because like you're in the situation that you're in, right? You're in the circumstance that you're in, and if it's lower octave, that's because you're kind of associating with confusion or unconsciousness, like not like acknowledging the real truth. And if you don't acknowledge the real truth, there's going to be a particular lack of a particular alignment as we're going towards the challenges of the GHs themselves, end quote, regardless of what you are or what like, and your status. That's the thing. That's like, that is the quote unquote mechanics and mechanisms, end quote. That is quote unquote the mechanisms and mechanics, end quote. That is what that, but like, so it's like the mind already knows, like, okay, let's see the mind, like the mind already knows, like, okay, let's there's some things that like people just don't want to like, share truth, because they're operating off of like, they could just be benefiting generally from falsehood. And I'm not judging anybody, I'm just trying to balance this shit. I recognize both. I recognize, like, shout out to, like, just shout out to the predecessors, because it's just like, like it's just like, it's just recognizing dark and light, it being a thing, and I and the real anomaly is like balancing that shit. And it's funny because that's like, that's where like that's where the that's where God tests you the most, God's testing you the most when you're in that shit, so this is like, no one said this was going to be easy. And may we, really craft and cultivate our resilience all the more with intelligence. And if we don't, it's because we have a unique type of intellectual stubbornness, or we're associating with unconsciousness and confusion. And the way we have that unconsciousness and confusion, because that's where you left off. And where you left off, what grows within your unconsciousness and confusion, it's like unknown things. It's like quote unquote energy, like something of like, a fragmentation, end quote, to put it like, neatly, because obviously, like, there's an energy D dash formation, end quote, that could make something of like something of a something that's opposite to like what wholeness could express, And so we don't know we're like in these challenges because we have a unique unconsciousness and confusion, and we're more or less coming out of that. And that unconsciousness and confusion, not good, not bad, it's within the progress of our career and our status. And because behind our career and status is the unconsciousness and the unknowingness. And from that unconsciousness and unknowingness, we're in the challenges of the GHs, and we don't know why we've left off with those challenges, but maybe we do, you know? It's because like you have a unique spiritual origin bias that's hopefully going towards balance. And there's just unique challenges in how like, some like people want to like there's just some like it's just in the psyche like, oh, let's challenge, let's do this challenge. And okay, like like okay, we left off where we left off, and people don't like hearing that shit because people are like so comparison and like and so like, just standardly like too much jealousy, like just focus on yourself, focus on the like, the blessings that are there, talk it out, let it out, but like obviously like things are growing from like lower octave things, and it's like those lower octave things is because we have like followed up on a certain challenge, and within these challenges they're like the planets, they're kind of reflecting back our progress with their challenges. That's what life is. They're reflecting back on our progress with their challenges and how we have unique oppositions that is not good or bad, but maybe it like, maybe it could be though, So I'm gonna keep it short right there. Maybe I'll go to underground. Um, see double 27. So the baby has yet to unravel what it ultimately came from, because when the baby grows to an old person and the old person dies, when you die, that was a different start, when you die, you get the revelation of like how you're completing this life cycle of how you were like how you are interacting on a different level within within the challenges and themes of life on a different level. When you die, it's like you could be reborn into a different type of baby, and that baby went like kind of reverse in time, and that baby from the old man, he went back in time and made a new baby, and that new baby was the accumulation of how a different dream baby, you know quote unquote, died in a different way, end quote, and it had a different falling, and as it had a different falling, that old person went back in time, and he kind of like did things in reverse to ultimately recreate his new baby self. And that new baby self has the codes of everything that you were potentially, you know capable of from your previous death. It has been like kind of like recycled and kind of like re-interwoven and kind of like kind of regenerated into your new baby self, because the baby, for some reason, the genetic baby within its unique quote unquote DNA, end quote, and I don't like using that word. I use a different word in the underground. I'm not going to say it here, but but the baby's quote unquote DNA end quote, which is just kind of like generally like what is like your, potential within the environment and the field and whatnot, yada yada. And and like and where you, and your relationship with the predecessors respectively. So that's what the quote unquote DNA is. And like and that's like waiting to be unraveled. It's like it's waiting to be unpacked, perhaps based on, how the dream baby started off as the person that just died, and that person that just died went back in time, and it went to it kind of like regained its vitality in a different way based on it going to a surface level, a different earth plane, earth, Bhumandala. And as it went to Bhumandala, it registered to be a new baby on earth. And as it's a new baby on earth, it's because it worked for that from a different dream plane. And that dream plane went underneath Bhumandala to register to how to balance just a particular type of karma of energies. And now that baby is the dream baby is kind of reversing what and how it became a dream baby. And that dream baby started off as a unique capping point within the earth, and that earth consecration self, it gained vitality through coming under the earth to the surface level of the earth. And as it went under the earth to the surface level earth, the new baby is created. And that new baby, it's kind of it's reflecting, and it's like pondering energetically the relationships with the environment and the godheads and their environments. It's being slowed down in time. That's the whole fucking point of earth. It's like to slow down like this shit and see like kind of what it was on just an earth creation. So the earth creation is for the new baby to reflect and slow down time, and kind of like, energetically, metaphysically compress time to make the earth body self. And within that earth body self, the new baby on earth, it just came from reversing its reflection challenges with the GHs. And that's reflecting how that happened on a different level. And as that's reflecting how that happened on a different level, now that baby's going back more or less to a unique level, um, slightly above Bhumandala, most respectively. And as that's happening, the earth body is working off its earth karmas based on its previous dream body, a previous particular water body. The earth is like from zero to quote unquote, death, end quote. You're like kind of like reflecting on like a different challenge arrangement that you already did in a different water arrangement within the GHs, and that's being kind of like played out in a different wave from a unique quote unquote bottom up level, end quote. And now the new baby on the earth level, it's it's experiencing like how like how the arrangements were on different levels of elements. It's experiencing it within like, primarily the earth, so it's similar and it's different. And the thing about the earth and the humans, it's like it's organic computers, it's organic consciousness. And within that organic consciousness, earth has a unique duality of just having a different like, a different element of artificial consciousness, end quote. And within that artificial quote unquote consciousness, end quote, it's being used in so many different ways. You can't say AI is bad. It's just like it's all about it's all about the intender. So within saying all of this stuff, um the new baby on the earth and the new baby's earth body, it's just having a different reflection transaction of what it did elsewhere on like in like a water world, in like a dream body. It's just reflecting that, and now it's like going back forth. And as you're going through from your life birth to death, you're finding out more or less who and what and who is really who and what and who. And what that means is who and what and who. It's just like we're going back to like just the genuine truth of what these GHs are, more or less, if we could even get there, you know? And wow, I didn't mean to do this online like this, because I might post this. But I'm gonna have to post it somewhere. I might this one I might have to save for Rumble, you know? Because like it's just that raw, you know, it's that like um so the baby is like it's not necessarily throughout life, it's coming out of the unconsciousness and confusion perhaps, and as it's doing that, the new baby, the on and its earth body, it's like it doesn't necessarily know like why it's unpacking what it's unpacking in regards to the challenges of life and why they are what they are, you know. It's because your spiritual origins are reflecting into your material origins and where you've left off, and how different material origins have life and death and reset, and then they get a new re-registration energy transaction for you to be a new human. And as you're a new human, um as you're a new human, we could be so arrogant that we don't necessarily know our level of unconsciousness and confusion for what it is, for whatever reason, and we could just kind of like casually like just be on that path of, you know, just unknowingness. And as we're on that path of unknowingness, if we don't know, like, if we just don't know things, then how do you expect to like really maintain clarity or build with clarity or go towards clarity, you know? Or just relate to clarity, like how, like, and clarity, like seeing what it could do within the pre-aforementioned things. So I might as well post this on YT, because it's like, you know, the like I just like I'm like kind of like standardly like, okay, you know, people hack, you know, they hack easily, like some people could quote unquote hack effortlessly, you know, and that's just the reality of it, you know. So that's why I'm so kind of like, okay, this is what it is, you know. Well, like you never know who's like also whatever as well too, you know. It's just like, but that doesn't necessarily mean you can't prevent hacking, you know, with going towards like something of a more safer website of like, you know, just any new website that just has more insurity of safeties within, you know, just basic general firewalls of cybersecurity senses or whatever. So within that unknowingness and confusion, there's a crux opportunity that we don't have to like subscribe to that energy theme, but for whatever reason we could be. And that's like, I'm just giving you like the just the standard like quote unquote non-dual end quote, you know, energy of it, you know. And I'm not claiming to be anything, I'm just saying that this is what it is, you know. And like let life, you know, supposedly play out and show you and play out how it's supposed to, supposedly, right? Because it's like, you could say that, but then you didn't expect the unexpected, and now you're not necessarily like prepared for the not expecting the unexpected, and you're still like, you know, but like still we could be in good spirits and let life play. It's like we have to balance our relationships with the GHs. That's the main point. And I know people are like, oh, what the fuck does that mean? They're gonna fucking, the unique human is just gonna quote unquote bitch and moan, end quote, how it does. No disrespect, because like it gets the best of just the challenge of being a human, you know. But it doesn't, like, that's the whole, like, maybe that's the test of God. Like, can we really like overcome just simply that, and just know like our job. So so how your life unfolds is because there's just a unique energy imbalance that's going on, you know? And may God like really help us out of this shit. Like, so that's the thing. It's like, what is it going to take, God? Like, AI can't necessarily answer this. Like, what is it going to take for me to really get, what the fucking betas are saying, respectively? Excuse my French with the betas. Because they say it, that they say a lot here. They say a lot, and I'm gonna end it right there. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Just kind of things are unfolding with are are there like, is it just random reasons? Maybe. Or are there like reasons we just can't see, that everything is God's reason? We just can't see it like that. Thank you very much.